Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we're going to do a quick overview of the updated prydwen PvP and Dream Realm tier list. They've added in both Nara and Dunlingr and even Sinbad based on the Pioneer server testing. They've also differentiated the S and S plus tiers and moved down a lot of damage dealers and even a couple of specialists from S plus to S tier, which I totally agree with, and this is actually what I was mentioning in my previous videos, that I believe for damage dealers, Diurnal and Lilymay are a class above the other damage dealers and the other ones should be demoted to the S tier, and that's kind of what they've done here. And same for specialists. I thought Caroline and Taylene are not really top tier and they should be in the S tier, which they have moved down. They've also moved Iron down. I don't know if I agree with Iron being in the S tier. I think still Iron is a very dominant PvP hero. I know Lilymay can counter him to an extent. However, even in against the Lilymay team, sometimes Iron still is a good option because you can take that first interruption and then you can cast following up ultimates. But I can understand the positioning just having Scarlet in the top. Vala as S+, I don't really know if I agree with that because in the meta, the problem is Vala is not really effective on defense because it's quite counterable. You can build teams that have multiple threats so that like you can't avoid all of them, and that is where Vala does well on defense. On offense, a lot of people build defenses which are not easy to be valid, and for example stall oriented teams, and then Vala doesn't really have a place. So I do not think Vala should be S+ tier, but she can be good against certain teams. Lilymay is still a dominant PvP hero, top tier, and top tier damage dealer who's only gotten better now that Dunlingr has been added into the game. Okay, let's move on to the supports. Damien, Haywin, Rainier. Damien is, in my opinion, the best support in the game. Provides a continuous haste and healing buff to your team. He can keep respawning himself, so like he's almost impossible to remove until your whole team is dead. He counts as a surviving ally for Scarlita really effectively. And he also has some crowd control in his kit, like the blinds and the stuns. So Damien, overall top tier PvP hero. Haywin, also top tier, but she is for a stall oriented team where she has the damage reduction, a lot of bursts of healing. The only problem with Haywin is you need to protect her, because if she gets nuked at the beginning of the fight before she can cast her ultimate, that is how they counter Haywin. And Diurnal teams especially do it really well. Also, Dunlingr is going to counter Haywin because if she can't cast her ultimate, what is she even there for? Okay, Rainier, is fine on offense. In Supreme Arena, there are some maps which are not like, they have too many symmetrical tiles that Rainier can always get a value swap off. But for defense, I don't think necessarily Rainier is the best. He can be fine, and if the opponent positions around like on non-symmetrical tiles, Rainier doesn't get much value. However, he's still a good hero, so I can understand that. Moving on to the tanks, they have Doran in the S+ tier. Doran is probably the best tank in the game, the most flexible and just has the multiple lies, the huge damage threat, soul pack protection of a ally. He's a really top tier hero. Now, I want to talk and focus now because Dunlingr is here for the S tier for the tanks. And I agree with this positioning. I don't think Dunlingr should be in the S+ tier. I think there are definitely teams like Dunlingr, Diurnal together are almost unbeatable for Supreme Arena defense as well as regular Arena defense. Like, for example, in my server, my guildmate Wooster now has Dunlingr, he has Diurnal built up. Now his team is basically stronger than mine. He has a better Arena defense than mine, and he can clear my Arena defense with his team. So up until now, I've managed to hold the rank 2 position or be the second strongest. However, with Dunlingr being added along with Diurnal together, he's kind of taken that position away from me. So definitely Dunlingr is a top tier PvP hero. It can allow you to hold the highest rank of regular Arena and Supreme Arena. But the thing is, you can also put together good teams without Dunlingr. Like even a Thorn as a tank is a good option in a Diurnal type team. So that's the thing, Dunlingr is not a must-have. However, he can push your team over the limit to make it just the best possible team. Okay, the other S tier hero tanks are Granny, Freestro. Granny is a good tank, however, I haven't really found a good place to fit her for my Supreme Arena defense lineup. Freestro is a great tank, and especially now with the Celestial Hypogean faction talent being really strong, and is going to get even stronger when we can upgrade to a higher stage. For Supreme Arena, Fresco is going to be a very commonly seen tank hero run. So I agree with this positioning, Fresco, and really basically any hero S tier above, these are top tier heroes to be running in PvP. Don't get like, don't think just because it's S tier is not a good hero. There are going to be some teams which are the best are going to be using the S tier heroes. And for Supreme Arena especially, you have to put together 3 teams, so you're going to need to pick heroes from both tiers. Okay, apart from that, in the S tier for the damage dealer is also Arden. Arden is a really good damage dealer. I like him with the faction talent, the wild faction talent, making him unaffected and have the attack speed. He's really a big threat with an Iron team. So I like Arden in an Iron team. OD can be in a Mauler team or an offense. He's pretty good. Lenya's good with Shakir, for example, protecting her. Maybe Mikola as well, or some protection stole pacting the Lenya. And Elsa and Burial are yeah, of course these are good heroes as well. Moving on to the specialist, Iron I do think maybe should be a tier above the other ones. I still feel like he is an S plus tier hero, but he's a top tier option, especially like an Arden team or with Carolina. He synergizes really well with the crowd control. And actually, one of my Supreme Arena defenses I'm running right now, which I think is the strongest one I have, is Iron, Lily May, Rowan, Carolina, Arden. I think it's a really strong defense that you guys can try. And I'm going to make a video on Supreme Arena defenses probably tomorrow. I thought I was going to make it now, but it's Sunday, so I decided let's wait for Monday tomorrow when we have the new formations, and then I can make an updated video. Okay, so Carolina, great damage dealer, and Taylene as well. Really good damage dealer, and she could potentially be even better in this season because of her magic charm bonus, giving her bonus 35% damage, I think up to 40%, and 35 bonus critical rate on her non-normal attacks. So her ultimate damage is going to apply. That is going to be insane. Sinbad's really interesting. He provides some really powerful debuffs for PvP, which is really what his use would be. His damage output is not enough to like nuke a hero, and he ends up locking onto the tank at the end of his combos, which is the kind of the problem, but the debuffs are really valuable. So I do think I like the positioning in the S tier for Sinbad. I think he will be a pretty interesting like debuffer type PvP hero, also with good damage output. Coco and Rowan are great support heroes. Damage reduction from Coco and trying to get the first ultimates on your team with Rowan, with energy generation, and Dunlingr Granny Fresco we talked about. Okay, moving down the list. Florabelle is so low. Florabelle is down to the A tier. I don't really agree with that. There are certain teams where Florabelle does really well, like zoo-oriented teams with Fresco, Burial. Florabelle, I'm using a stall team right now with Thorin, Florabelle, Haywin, Damien, Scarlita. It's really strong for me as well. It can be burst through by like bursting nuker teams, but I do think Florabelle is a fine option. But yeah, maybe she doesn't belong in the S tier, but then maybe also Elsa wouldn't belong in the S tier because she's also kind of counterable, especially by Lily May. Countering Iron ultimates. Okay, the other heroes here are good options if you have them. Sylvina's really good on offense, but on defense, she can be good in Supreme Arena. Like, if you have a double threat team, Vala and Sylvina. So maybe Sylvina should be up a tier as well. Other heroes, Igor's moved down. Yeah, Igor is good in Graveborn stall-oriented teams, but he is weak to OD, but he can work well in teams. Parissa is really good as a nuker, and this is something I kind of underestimated, the power of Parissa, but she does some really good things. I have a good replay of my guildmate Wooster attacking me and beating my stall Supreme Arena defense using Parissa. Nara is in the A tier. I mean, I do think that placement is fair, because the thing with Nara is she is quite heavily counterable by the opponent, like in Lightning Spell, on a backline hero, or a Damien in the back, a non-targetable hero in the back. It counters her Phantom Chains, which is a lot of what she needs to happen at the beginning of the match. Ludovic McCall in the A tier, I agree with that. I think that Ludovic, both of these can be decent supports. Mikola has some issues, she's easy to kill sometimes, and Ludovic has a lot of healing, but it is limited in range, like it's not a whole map-wide healing. But both solid heroes. Again, even for the A tier, if you have these heroes built up, you can make good defenses with them, for Supreme Arena especially, but if you have the S tier and above, then maybe those would be a little bit better, but not by a huge amount. And then Brutus, Lucius, Elmas. Lucius, I think, is the weakest now. Like, without his seasonal skill from Song of Strife, he's not a great option, but if you're running a Lightbearer team, you'll have to probably use him. And Brutus is a really good tank for Maulers. Almas is good with a crowd control team like Iron, but again, you have to watch out for if people bring Lily May into that team, it really hard counters an Iron Almas strategy because Almas wants to snowball the crowd control from the first second of the match. And if you interrupt the Iron's ultimate, it delays the whole team. And then other options. Reese, I think, is a bit underrated here. Reese belongs in a higher tier. He's not a bad damage dealer option. Smokey, Smokey is down to B tier. Smokey isn't great for PvP. However, he can work in some teams and Mauler-oriented teams. So I would probably move him up to the A tier. Tamicia without her seasonal skill poor has gone down to the B tier. Yeah, I mean, overall I agree with these ratings pretty much. Just some minor, maybe differences by one tier, either way on certain heroes, but this is a really good, like, overall guideline of which heroes are going to do well for you in Arena and Supreme Arena. Okay, let's take a look at the Dream Realm. So Dream Realm is going to be very interesting. So as of right now, we have limited information, and this tier list is based on pre-Endless mode Dream Realm bosses because no one has made it to Endless mode yet. And it was based on Pioneer server testing. So for the damage dealers, I really agree with this. I think that Lily May is a top tier still. Odie is after her, and Lenya and Odie are around about the same tier. Right now, there are teams where the optimal team is Lenya. Even, for example, today's boss, which was Lone Gaze, Lenya deals the most damage output. Yesterday's, the Crystal Beetle was weird because Elsa dealt the most damage. Whereas Elsa is in the B tier. So I think it is a bug, because I'm sure on the Pioneer server people would have tested Elsa, but for some reason in the global server right now, Elsa is dominating in both the first Dream Realm boss, which was Orson. No, the second, yeah, Orson, and then also Crystal Beetle. In Crystal Beetle, she just dealt double the damage of any other hero could. So I don't know if it's bug or intended, but yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. Other than that, Odie and Lenya are the best two damage dealers other than Lily May. Okay, for the specialists, they have Taylene number 1. Yeah, Scarlita goes all the way down. Scarlita is not a good option for Dream Realm really anymore, and Corrin, sadly, he was so dominant, and even Merrily, all the way down to the A tier. Like, you can run them if you don't have the other higher tier heroes built up, but they're not going to be the greatest. So, Taylene has good damage output, and especially with the magic charm bonus, that is where she's going to be different from before, so she might even be a best option in Endless teams. Previously, the only Endless team she was good at was King Croaker, but I definitely think this season, Taylene is going to be a star of the Dream Realm, so S+, she belongs there. Shakira is a very solid hero. For pre-Endless content, Shakira is not the greatest. Kruger also competes with Shakira, but for once we get back to Endless, I think Shakira is going to be at the top. S+ tier. Sinbad is, we don't have him yet on the global server, but he has a lot of debuffs and decent damage output, and so that's kind of why he's in the S tier. And I think maybe before getting to the Endless boss mode, where you want to like reduce the boss's defenses more, or to have him take more damage, Sinbad could be a good option. So I think, yeah, S tier. I don't know whether he's necessarily better than like a Merrily or Corrin, for example, who are down in the A tier for a lot of teams, but he would not be a bad choice if you build him up. But he's not like a must-have, and I think once we get to Endless bosses, I have a feeling he's going to be phased out. Okay, supports. Yeah, Rainier top tier support, Mikola as well. Mikola, Rainier, even Smokey belongs in the S+ tier, because there are a lot of teams right now they're just swapping Mikola for Smokey, and you get almost the same damage output. So even if you haven't built up Mikola, but you have Smokey built, you can compete for high ranks in Dream Realm, even in pre-Endless content. So I would put Smokey up. Coco is good for the damage reduction, and in certain teams you need Coco. And so I would probably put Coco to the S+ tier as well. She's really good in Dream Realm right now. Once we get to Endless boss mode, she won't have as much of a use, but for now she is a top tier support in a lot of bosses. Okay, and then for the tanks, Freya's Thorn. Yeah, these guys are not used that much right now. If anything, Thorn is probably used more. Freya's shines once you get to Endless boss modes, usually. Right now, his damage output can't compete with other damage dealers, and you might just be better running Thorn to increase the damage the boss receives. And also Thorn has, he has great tankiness and soul pack protection, like in Lone Gaze, that can be helpful. Now for the other heroes down the list, the only other heroes you would really want to think about running here would be like Merrily Corrin. If for example you don't have the other damage dealers built up, you could try to use them. But they do better in Endless boss modes with their true damage, and even in Endless they've been kind of replaced by the other damage dealer options, mainly Lily May. So poor Merrily and Corrin. I don't know how much of a priority they are. I still think, like, out of the Lightbearer heroes for A level, they're not that many key targets. When Sinbad comes to wishlist, then maybe you would want to go for Sinbad maybe instead of Corrin, and go for Merrily and Sinbad, for example, and forget about Corrin entirely. But for right now, still Merrily and Corrin are your, like, A levels you're targeting on your wishlist. Okay, now Brian and Reese, they have powerful magic charm bonuses causing their target to take bonus damage in this season. So both are going to be great options to run. Vala, Floribel. Floribel can be fine, Vala can be fine, however they haven't seem to be doing enough compared to the other damages we have, so their A tier is fitting. Ludovic is quite good. Ludovic was in the best team for the Crystal Beetle, like, cheese strategy with Elsa, and Ludovic can be used in other teams as well. He also has decent damage output, so I think I would put Ludovic up to S tier, and these two, Smoky Coco, up to S plus tier. Other ones here, Scarlita, Temesia, not really used, and this is the thing. So Temesia is a good hero for Dream Realm, however she has been kind of replaced, and so I don't know if I can recommend her position on like your epic recruitment wishlist anymore. I think probably would just be better to go for like Shakir on the epic recruitment wishlist. Shakir, Lily May, Mikola, Smoky Thorin, or something like that, or Iron Thorin, and forget about Shakir and just go for your PvP. I think yeah, something like that. Okay, moving down the list, the other heroes, B tier and below, you really don't want to run unless you have no other heroes built up. Like for example, if you're an early game player, then you can run Cecia, you can run other heroes you have here, but these are not going to be the top tier options. And Dunlingr is in the C tier. Yeah, Dunlingr has no place in Dream Realm. Alright, so overall, really good really good tier list. I agree with a lot of it, and I like the repositioning of the tiers, especially for PvP. I think that the heroes are much more where they belong now. But hope you guys enjoyed the video. Good luck with everything in the new season and getting these heroes that are on the top tier, getting S and S plus tier heroes onto your account. Good luck recruiting them. And honestly, some A tier heroes here are actually very good as well. So don't just totally discount the A tier heroes on these tier lists. So thank you for watching, guys. That is going to be it for this one, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.